Okay. Good morning, I'm Norma Cowie. I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel for my Wednesday Norma Talks. Today is going to be a little more interesting again because it's the first Wednesday of February. And in December and in January, I laid out a tarot card reading for what the month was going to bring. And I had actually several people say to me, are you going to do that again in the beginning of February, which I have done. I use a reading method called an inverted pyramid. And I'm still going to work this so I can put the cards, and I'm going to start off there because I've got some other things I want to talk to you about. I'm just moving this up here now so that you can see the symbols I got for this month of February. A couple of things I found really, really interesting. You will notice here that, and even this particular symbol here, there's no real movement. There is in the middle, and I'll get to the Six of Swords that are right here, but we're starting off with Justice. Now, Justice I find is a very interesting symbol because it does represent the law of karma on one level, but it also talks about commitment to your decision, commitment to what it is that you're wanting to create. But you'll notice because of this veil in the back, you cannot see. You basically need to be aware of what you're doing. And because it's a number 2, because it's a number 11 symbol, it really has to do with you making the commitment to the decision you would have made back in number 2, which is the High Priestess. So there's some decisions going on there. There's a balancing, and there's definitely a holding on. Maybe not wanting to move too quick, maybe not sure what's going on, but just being very, very holding on into the sense of the direction of where they are and what they're doing. And so if we're going to look at timing, and because we're already at the 3rd now, I would say this is around the 7th, basically the first 7 days that you're kind of holding on. But then comes movement, and I love to see movement in readings. That's one of the things that when I see everything stationary for a person, it's like, okay, here we go. We got to do some work here because we need to have movement. We need to have shift and change. Excuse me. And what we're seeing here with the Six of Swords is like and I'm just going to do this in a very sort of symbolic way. There's quite a lot of symbolism in here actually, but the swords do not pierce the boat, and the rough water here and the smoother water over there means they're leaving the rough water, which was all this here, and which we saw in January, and we're moving into smoother waters. Now, since the month of December, we have seen change. We have seen growth. It ended every month unchanged, and it's still doing that now. Which is good because we progress through the months. We progress through what has been going on in the world. There's a lot of turmoil in the world right now. And so consequently here, we flip back. Now, what did I do? I got us back into January and I didn't want to go there. I am learning so much about this, but I don't know what I did. Hang on, let me just see what if I can change. Let me close this. I am sorry about this. That's not what I had chosen, but we will see if we can get this correct. I must have, that's not the one I wanted. This is a huge learning curve for me, and especially when I'm looking at why it did this. I know that it was on before. I want to move that. But maybe that way, if I can do this, that's back. And if we go down, this is my photo album. This is the one I wanted. Thank you. I'm starting a actual tarot class on Tuesday night, and I'm going to be doing a lot of showing different things. And so it's, and I can't even keep 1 month. I'll keep my hands away as much as I can, but I do like to kind of show you where we're heading. So please forgive me for the experimentation going on here. I am getting better though. Now, as you move forward, we come to this 4 of Swords, and that's where the answer lies within. This is where a lot of people are going to go inside, and I mean a lot because we're looking generally at the vibration of of this month of February. So we're going inside. Now we're getting probably around getting 12th, around 12th, coming into good old Valentine's Day on the 14th. And here we have the world. Now, one thing about the world is an attainment. It's as though there's a completion. And I would say here, 14th, 15th, maybe even up to the 17th of February, a lot of things fall into place. It's like there's an achievement or a level that's taken place. And you could say a completion for sure. It's whatever is being worked on, whatever has been changing is now done. Now comes the, really for me, was very exciting when I saw this. The 10 of Cups is joyous. Everyone's happy. Everybody is there. Everybody is saying, wow, look at this. Isn't this wonderful? And, and of course, regarding different readings, it could have a different kind of influence. But on the whole, it's very hard not to rejoice when you see that particular symbol. And so as we're moving into, I'm going to say the 20s of February, towards the end of the month, because it's a short month, what we're seeing here is movement forward, that very deliberate movement forward, very planned, very executed. I'm getting the 23rd and 24th in particular. That comes then into the Magician. To me, the key I have always given this symbol is all things are possible, because you have all the tools that you require. But what you do need is action, and it's obviously happening. But it's again showing everything is there that you need. And then that leaves you down to the end of the month, which is the 27th, 28th, still moving forward. And what I love about the Six of Wands is that it's about victory is assured, moving forward in the direction of where you're heading and where you're going. So a lot of this uncertainty that's happening, because if we can also run things I liked about this reading, you can also read it in other ways. You know, you can look at the making the commitment to, and you'll be happy as you move forward. So there's a lot of, we make it, the commitment as it's made will create great reward. Moving forward again is the answer, not sitting still, not like being this 4 here, but having like the 6 and the Knight of Wands and the 6 of Wands all moving in a direction anyway. And then the World with the Magician and the 6 of Wands again saying, when everything is in place, everything is possible as you move forward. It has completion, it has new beginnings, it has an awareness, it has a tremendous sense of direction. Now, if everyone remembers back in December, when I made a reading on the month of December, and I looked at and I said, it seems to me it won't be till around the end of March, beginning of April, when everything gets really clear. And I think this is the beginning of a lot of that clarity, you know, with all the COVID stuff that's gone on. I know so many people are not really happy with what's happening still. And so maybe there'll be some changes that are going to be happening there, hopefully. And also the direction of where we're heading in a political way in the world right now, there's a lot of unsettlement. So we're going to be having a lot of those things that are going on. And so now I got to figure out how am I going to get out of here and back into my regular talk mode. It should have said a stop share, so I'm not sure I'm going to go back over here until I can see if I can find it. No, that's my one little, oh, that's crazy. Okay, let me see what else. I'm going to try this. There we go. I'm back. Thank you. Boy, sometimes I think I have it all down. I practice, everything works fine, and then everything messes up. But I did want to, because I was asked, I do like to do what I'm asked to do. And because I was a little nervous about putting, one thing for me to read for somebody and get clarification of what's going on. But when you're reading for a country, or when you're reading for the world, or when you're reading there, it's not as perhaps as clear. Now, I do want to say one thing. Last month, I had the tower, and I saw the tower being very affected. I noticed Penny Kelly's one of her talks. She was talking about a person had also drawn the tower, and she was talking a little bit about the tower, how what it means and how it works. And I felt like, yeah, because I had seen that too. And this gentleman had also, he had drawn it actually pretty accurately by the looks of it. And it was true, because change we don't always see. We think we have, and unfortunately our mainstream media does not report what is really going on often. So that's part of that whole censorship thing, which I don't like. And so consequently, it's like we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what is happening. But what we can know is where we are. And I want to bring that back, and for the nice little bit of the time on here is have you be aware of how you create. Again, this is something that I've talked about several times, but we're going to begin to move back into metaphysical topics rather than self-development topics. So I just want to wrap this up in a sense of being aware of how we are part of the great energy that is here in our world. I have two clients say to me, well, what can I do about that? Like feeling like giving up, feeling like they're victimized because they don't feel they have a choice or a voice. And I said, our minds are very powerful. And the more minds that come together, it affects the whole collective consciousness. So it is really important that you begin to think and even speak, but think originally on what it is that you want and how you want things to be, and to put some energy behind that, not just let the thoughts go out kind of flip-floppy, you might say. You want to be strong about what the direction is and how you want. Remember that justice card. That when I began to really explore that justice card, which explore means when I used to meditate on it and have my guides talk to me about the symbology, and I began to see the connection between making a decision to do something wasn't nearly as much as the commitment to do something. And so where the commitment is for your life, what you want to create, what you want to do, it becomes really important that you are very clear on how you want to be. Now, very often too, the other thing I was thinking of and that I've seen is like in families, I know families that don't talk to each other. So when we run into people who have different ideas than we have, do we not talk to them or have anything to do with them just because they have a different idea or a different experience or a different awareness? I know, as I said last, I think it was on my Sunday talk actually, where we congregate together, like, and I mentioned birds of a feather flock together. When we're with people who are like-minded, it is very easy to be comfortable. And sometimes when we're around somebody who thinks differently than us, we're not as comfortable. It's not as easy. Conversation doesn't flow. And I know in this last year, I've had situations with friends where I just don't touch on certain topics. But I've done that the majority of my life because I've always held my beliefs and my attitudes, which often are not a lot what my friends think or feel. So I think it's about acceptance of who we are and what our views are and what our thoughts are. It is about awareness that everyone is entitled to their own belief system. But it's really about knowing that you can accept and not get upset because you have a differing viewpoint. Everyone is different in lots of ways. And this brings me to something else. During the last months, I quite often listen to another lady that has a YouTube channel called Laurie Ladd. And she's very spiritual, very, very connected in lots of ways and very gentle. I always say she's very Lemurian and very, very, very gentle. And one of the elements is that knowing that gentleness of the soul. And I had the occasion this last Sunday, because that was one only time this gal could work with me, was on Sunday this week. And well, last week it is now. And one of the things I found, the issue that she had was that She couldn't understand why people were nasty. And her soul, there wasn't a lot of work I had to do in clearing, and she'd been recommended by a friend of hers because she was feeling distressed and upset. And I was just really working on balancing, and she didn't have very much, which is unusual. When I go to rebalance a person that I haven't worked with before, there's usually a lot of stuff. So anyway, what I began to realize is that her soul hadn't recognized how emotional our planet is. She hadn't recognized that some people don't react well in certain circumstances. She was so clear and so, what would you say, just shining brand new, actually, in some ways. Her soul was delightful to see, because I don't see too many like that. And I was very, very, very reinforced and felt very helpful, in a sense. Hopeful is the word I want. Sorry, not helpful. Hopeful, because this beautiful soul. And I just said, well, some people are like that. Some people basically on things have been, whether they've been hurt. And so she came in just with so much delight into the vibration of Earth. And here she is trying to figure out, how come people aren't like her? Well, no, we're all not like other people. We're all individuals. I always have taught this, as that's why our fingerprints and our eyes are very different. And by the way, I did see some photographs of some snow. Someone had managed to, I don't know how they did it, because I used to say, they say snowflakes are all different, but how do they photograph them? Because they disappear as soon as you touch them. Well, this person had a sort of several snowflakes, and you could see, yes, they were all different patterns. And that's like us. We can have similarities for sure. But I mean, you just have to be in a family and look at the genetics of your family, and someone looks like, Aunt Mabel, another one looks like Uncle Ted or whatever. And there's all these differences. And then sometimes there's a real line of genetics that look, you can say, oh yeah, they belong to that part of the family. Similarities, yes. But the internal part of us, that soul part of us, is what makes us individual. And that reflects in our fingerprints and our eyes and and our bodies too. So it's like acceptance of difference. And I think that that's basically, to a degree, where when we look at the changes and how people sometimes hang on so tight to what they believe in, and they're not wanting to believe something different, or you hear something. And I know when I started hearing things that I would say, oh my goodness, really? That can't be true. That can't be true. And then you just have to relax and begin to do research. We're given this gift of the internet. And sometimes we just have to sit down and do our own research. It's all there if you look for it. It's where you want to go and what you want to see and what you want to do. It's amazing how much you learn. I was directed months ago to Robert Kennedy Jr.'s Child Defense Fund? No, a league. Anyway, he works to help children. And he has a newsletter, and it's amazing from that newsletter, bits and pieces of information that I would never, ever, ever have figured out that I'm getting. And sometimes I'm just like, wow, is that really? But you look at, and then you go do other research and you find, yes, that's very true. That's exactly what's happening and going on. So, know that the world is there to explore, and you may be upset by certain things that you hear. You may be upset by what you see, or you may just kind of feel like, oh, why doesn't this change or that change? Take a look at how come it's not changing. Take a look at why it's stuck in a certain way, and how many people are working to change things and being shut down. So many people that I used to watch on YouTube, you can't see them, you can't find them. You have to go other places like BitChute and other places to even see them anymore. And I don't personally think that's correct. My personal viewpoint, I've never believed in censorship. That's what Nazi Germany did. They shut everybody down. They burnt books. Well, now they just burn talks. They take you away. And you have to go and find other ways of getting things through. But it's like, that's the adventure. That's the adventure of our time. our time to be able to stand up for what we feel is correct without, you might say, getting super upset. But being able to be recognized, it's a time of kind of conversation. It's a time of being tolerant. It's a time of being aware, but most of all, knowing we are growing, that yes, things are changing, and things may change a lot more than we really want them to change. But it's also about how are we going to handle that in an effective way where we can be how we want to be. That's why I was very heartened by the symbology I got today. Shows change, yes, which is so important because that's always happening, but it's constructive, especially as we get through the middle of this month. And I'm looking forward now to see what March brings. And I trust that you will be too, because we never really know what is going to happen and what's going to take place. So I really want to thank you once more for listening and tuning in. And I trust I've offered some little thought or some awareness to you. I want to thank those that have lately have come in on the site and subscribed. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate those of you that have been to my website, and you can email me through there. And it's just a great life. I want you to enjoy it. So enjoy, and thank you.